This is the Senior Life Academy, located on the campus of the University Park United Methodist Church here in Dallas, Texas. Welcome. I'm Dee Dee Gassad, and I have with me our panel, Diana Wilson, Fred Kite, Miriam Mathis, and Bob Monroe. And friends, we're going to talk about our life now as retired people. Do seniors, adult seniors our age, do we still have a reason for being? Do we still have a reason in life in these later years?
By reason, you mean a purpose?
Yeah, reason is a purpose. Do we really have a purpose in life?
Well, some people would say that this is the time for us to really let our purpose flow out of us, because this is the time that we have been given beyond the work years, beyond the years where we had a social purpose or a community purpose that was defined by our professions.
And a family purpose.
And a family purpose. And now we're at a point where we have, a lot of people would say that this is the perfect time for us to really dive deeply into our spiritual purpose, our life as God's children.
Right.
Even though we're not children anymore, we're still God's children.
And we have something to give, do we not, Fred?
I think so. I think each one of us has some gifts and graces that perhaps we haven't had time to explore and give. And this is a perfect opportunity.
To develop some. That's
exactly.
And there's something about wisdom that we are the ones who, from our experience and knowledge and activity in the world for years, we've gained a certain amount of wisdom that those that are younger do not have. Is wisdom a purpose? Diana, how do you feel?
I think it's a benefit of getting older.
Yeah.
I think.
But do we have a purpose to use it?
Oh, sure. I think everything that God gives us is for us to share. Mm-hmm. Isn't that? I mean, that's the whole idea of the Trinity, right? The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. It's all this energy moving,
right.
And sharing. And some of us have read Richard Rohr's book about falling upward, mm-hmm. and how he talks about what you were talking about, Miriam. The first half of life, we're just kind of setting up our world and paying on mortgages and raising kids and going to work and doing that kind of thing. And when you retire, you get to redefine how you spend your time, and you get to share with other people the gifts and graces that Fred was talking about that God has given us. And I personally think that the way to tap into that is to have a self-awareness of what it is that excites you, what you really like doing, what's joy. And I think everyone in this panel could tell you the things they do to share their gifts that they love.
This is true. How do you see it, Bob?
Well, we talked about the first part of our life, and I was pretty involved in work and a 50s dad, I guess, supplying the needs of the home. Mm-hmm. But and I really didn't do very much work in the church. I was on some committees and did little things, but I didn't put a lot of hours in. And after retirement, I became very active in Habitat for Humanity, because I thought that was a good cause. I had some health problems, so then I went into tutoring children in a poverty school, almost 9 years at that. And that was something that takes a lot of time, but it's been very rewarding, because these children don't have very many people they can depend on or who love them, unfortunately.
Right.
And I have found that it isn't just helping them with the reading and math in elementary school. Mm-hmm. They know I'm going to show up every week, and
There's a trust factor.
Yeah, and I love them, and they feel that. The first 6 months, I think they were in disbelief. Well, here's another old person showing up at school. We'll see how long this lasts.
Mhm.
Well, now it's gone on for so long that every child in the school, as they've gone through from kindergarten to 5th grade, has known me. And that trust factor, consistency, I think might be a demonstration of God's love to them.
Sure.
And they don't have a lot of that.
That's wonderful. How then can we help the audience who's maybe listening to us and they're sitting there thinking, well, I'm just sitting here waiting to die? How can we motivate them, stimulate them, give them the reason to be creative and to use, as Fred says, their gifts and graces? How can we encourage them to do that?
Well, we have this phrase that we started using during our capital campaign, which is, Lord, what do you want to do through me?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if people ask that question,
Good.
if they, the assumption is that people have enough faith to feel that God is with them and guiding them. And if so, then you say, what is mine to do? What do you want me to do? And I think then it's a question of listening.
It is a question of listening, but it's also determining what it is they can do and how do they utilize, Fred, their gifts and their graces. See, they may have them. Where do they go to plug in?
Well, you oftentimes hear seniors say, well, I've done all that in the life of the church. I've been on all those committees, and I've taught Sunday school, and I've done this and done that, and now it's my time to relax and do nothing. But if we're truly committed to serving and loving God, that means serving our neighbors. And so we need to use the gifts we've been given and find the ways that we can use our gifts and graces.
Absolutely, and the church is a good place to find that. How can they become more creative? I think using what you said, that they've already done this, they have been on these committees. How can they approach specific things in the church in a more creative way? What do you think, Miriam?
Well, I agree with what Diana was saying. You have to identify things that you find joy in, things that
Yes.
you find satisfaction in. And if that's making things with your hands, if that is teaching, if that is participating in the music ministry, if that is doing little odd jobs to help the staff out, if whatever.
Answering the phone.
Answering the phone, thank you, that's right. Just things that you might not see yourself doing necessarily, but if you talk to the people in the mission area at your church, if you're not that familiar with them, they'll come up with some things for you to do. There will be a lot for you to be able to do, and things that they might be a little bit outside your comfort zone, but then you get to do it with other people and you start learning things, and it's all of a sudden it's a new skill, and whoa, I can do this. This is great.
Well, not only that, I just recently I have emailed the membership in this church who's over 65 to ask what they did before they retired. I had no idea. And once we know what some of them have done, we have a little bit better chance of saying, would you do this, because it's something you know how to do. And I think that would be advantageous for any congregation to have a survey to know what people actually not only did professionally, but what's their talent? Do they play the piano? Should they sing in the choir? I think it would be wonderful, for instance, to have a senior adult choir. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it would be very good. Or a barbershop quartet. What do you think, Bob?
Well, I really think there's almost an infinite choice or opportunities. People say, what are you going to do in retirement? And you really have to hold back in many ways, because you can be doing more than you did when you worked, except you get to choose your hours and you get to choose what you want to do.
Exactly.
And for the people who like tell Fred that, well, I already done that and I've done this, maybe they could mentor some of the younger people in the church in those committees.
Excellent.
If you don't want to go to a school, for example, like I did to read, the children's hospitals love to have people come in and just spend some time with the children. If you don't have your own grandchildren or they're grown up, there's plenty of grandchildren that need love. It just goes on and on. People have mentioned doing things here in the church and help the staff. Even other seniors need help.
That's
They
right.
need sometimes socialization. Their families have gone. They've moved away. And what they need is some social contact and interrelation. They need friends and love. And so I have a hard time limiting what's there. To me, it's just a wide world of opportunity. But as I said before, you get to choose your hours. You get to choose what you want to do. And that's the best job of all.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely true.
To do what you have wanted to do all your life. You know, a lot of times they're just things I wish I had done. And if you analyze the wish I had done things, why not do them?
And you know, in terms of health and wellness for seniors, being connected,
Amen.
having community
That's really
is
important.
huge.
Yes.
And so the payback is like double. Not only does Bob love on these kids, they love on him.
Sure.
And not only does Miriam knit hats for babies at Parkland, isn't it?
No, it's wherever.
Wherever. But it gives her a satisfaction. And she's doing it with other people who have that same mission. And Fred, I'm not sure what kinds of activities you're in, but I'm sure that there's a huge payoff for you in whatever it is you're doing.
You're right.
Well, that's true. And I notice in our own church, we have a class that are all seniors really above 80 years old that really do very little in the church. They do exactly what you have done, Fred. They have been there. Mm-hmm. They have been chairman of the boards. They have been on the committees, and they come to Sunday school, and that's the end of that. So I just recently I have emailed a couple out of there, and I said, for the summer, I want somebody out of your class, a couple out of your class, to have sort of senior day summer outing or whatever, and you all choose and be responsible for that. They probably will do that because, I mean, it's just one time, and they probably will have the time of their life to get that class moving, get them out of their own, as you say, comfort zone, and they can choose whatever they want to do.
Yeah, but they're connected.
But they're connected
in community.
See? And I think
Beyond just the hour of Sunday morning,
Right.
Sunday school.
exactly, and come to Sunday school because I've watched that class, and they're very faithful at Sunday school. That's the only time I see them.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I see them, but they have a wealth of wisdom and knowledge and experience that young people can have, children can have, and even those coming right behind them can have. We've got a generation of coming on that is going to be huge. The baby boomers that were born right after the war are about to hit 65 years old. And so every church is going to have a preponderance of them. And how do we help them as they make the transition of retirement? And those of us who have had some experience, because it seems to me a lot of times what we expect in retirement is not exactly what retirement is.
Well, we don't know what God's got in store for us. So, I mean, I've been working with the Enneagram now, I think for 10 or 12 years, and I just discovered it one day when I was at a conference, and it opened up a whole new world for me. And so I think that happens to all of us. There are things that come up that you didn't think about
But see, to influence seniors to do that, see, would they think, oh, well, I don't have enough years left to even worry about that. See, but it would still be helpful to them if they did that.
Sure.
See-
I guess like because the people who come to the Enneagram class are people who don't think that.
And they're not 70 years old either.
Well, some have been.
Have they?
Yeah, Bill has been in my Enneagram class.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in their Enneagram
Yeah.
class.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
the Christians, Sharon has.
See, I think-
there's,
I think that the more that you can get like that, as well as the younger ones, don't misunderstand me, that they would benefit from it.
yes. Well, I guess what I'm trying to, you've opened up a sort of a Pandora's box here for me, Dee Dee, because it makes me wonder how we can help people, how we can motivate people to understand the joy you get from learning new stuff.
Exactly. That's the
Because
point I'm making.
Whether it's the Enneagram or painting or whatever,
Yoga,
That's right.
Or
book clubs or,
Yeah, because I'm fearful a lot of people do think, well, I'm over the hill, there's nothing left for me to do.
I think it's all a question of how we perceive time and how we perceive our lives, and that we're so bound by, okay, well, I'm in the fourth quarter now. I can just sit around and wait for it all to happen to me. But if you think about life that way, instead of thinking about life, this is a new day. I have a whole beautiful new day here, and I have a whole 15 minutes here that I can, communicate with God, or I can help somebody, or I can write a poem, or I can study the Enneagram. It's invigorating
And
when you
people need those suggestions. They may not think of them.
That's the
may
point.
not have any idea of what the possibilities are
Right.
of what they could be doing.
And this is why our podcasts I hope are helpful in that we offer suggestions that I wish I had thought of that.
Right.
Ray, when people say, well, I only have a few years left, why not enjoy them? Do something you enjoy. And we've talked about wisdom or legacy. Just writing some of your life story for your children or grandchildren.
Yeah.
Or those kind of things can be very valuable, because it can also start discussions of your little things like, well, we didn't have email. We actually wrote letters to people, and letter writing can lead you to journaling. And there's so many things, again, that I see, rather than I only have so many years left, and I don't know how many years that is. Have fun and help and do something you like, and that's going to have a gift of love somewhere along the path. And I don't see what greater reward there can be for me.
I have a story. There was an article in the news about a man in New York City who was killed when he got hit by a car. But the thing was, he was 110 and he was out jogging. So it seems to me, if you focus on people like that, or there's a man who lives in a retirement center near here who is 100 years old and he drives his sports car up and down Northwest Highway. And so I don't feel, because I'm not that old, I'm retired and I'm older, but I see many years. I don't have this sense of, and it must be hard to operate if you have this sense of there's only like 2 or 3 more years or 2 or 3 more months or whatever. But for me, the horizon's far.
Well, this is why I think the word itself, retirement, it hurts us a little bit. I think when we say retirement, that sort of is a delineation point in which people change. And I think that if we found another word besides retirement, because we do have more discretionary time, our choices are more obvious, and there's room to do things, and it's a marvelous experience.
Yeah.
That's why Rhodes Scholar and so many senior adventure groups and senior walking tours And
Exactly.
so many, even those kinds of things are so popular now because people see that there are possibilities, and whether they can participate fully in a physical one or whether they have opportunities to participate intellectually. I mean, you don't have to just watch TV when you're our age.
But, and I know people who watch TV 24 hours a day almost. But that's
That'd be
that's their choice too.
Maybe instead of retirement, that which has TIR, like we're tired,
Uh-huh.
retirement, we could
Retread.
we could
Yeah,
well
retread.
well that retread's good,
It
or reassignment, and we get to do the assignment.
And
Yeah,
we get
reassign.
to-
I like
Excellent. Well, thank you all. This has been a lively discussion, and I appreciate it. We hope that you have enjoyed our discussion today. Please email us if you have questions or our comments. Our email is on the screen. And in the meanwhile, may God surround you with His grace.